relevant, reliable, and researched. This is Experts on Call, the show focused on delivering leading-edge news and information on today's most beneficial products and services. This is Experts on Call on AM 650.
Sterling Fox with you on the program, joined by Phil Moriarty, the owner of the BC Canine Training Center, to talk all things dogs on this episode of Experts on Call. We've had a couple of guests joining us throughout the hour, Phil. We talked to one of your clients, Verena in Richmond, and her story of her dog who had been, well, I'm going to use the word, misdiagnosed by another trainer and ended up coming to you for remedial training, and that you managed to turn that dog, Subi, around pretty quickly. And then, of course, we just heard from Sue Eckersley up in Whistler to talk about Dogfest as part of the World Ski and Snowboard Festival coming up April 11th to 20th. And you will be at Whistler along with your team from the BC Canine Training Center on Easter weekend, specifically on Saturday the 19th with some of your working police dogs. We still call them police dogs. And even though they're patrol dogs or working dogs, what's the proper designation for that type of animal?
Security patrol dogs.
Security patrol dogs. And they are all Justice Institute trained up.
That's right, yeah.
So it'd be quite a demonstration. This is
looking forward to it.
The pros and the sniffing out and all of that kind of stuff and the climbing up of apparatuses. And
well, I'm looking forward to the public being able to see that, the extent that the dogs will go to do things for you.
Yeah.
But also that they are experiencing a happy, fulfilled life when they're working.
Right.
A lot of people say, "Oh, a working dog, that's mean, isn't it? The poor dog has to work." Well, dogs don't think in terms of work. They think in terms of whatever their natural instincts and drives are.
Sure.
And all work that a dog does is based on its natural inclinations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a matter of harnessing those and then channeling them.
Right.
So no, we're looking forward to a nice little demonstration.
I want to come back to
kids always like it.
Oh, kids love that stuff. They absolutely love it. I wanted to come back to a phrase that you've used a few times on today's program. Mm-hmm. You talk about sensory deprivation and how, for example, in the case of our first guest, Verena, whose dog had been through erroneous training methods, had been sensorily deprived. Mm-hmm. And as a result, got kind of weird. You said during one of the breaks that, in a lot of cases, our dogs suffer sensory deprivation at our hand, and we don't even know we're doing it. Could you expand on that, please?
Yeah. A lot of people think that a dog intellectualizes the same way we do. So if
you can tell by the way they talk to their dogs.
Having conversations.
Oh, absolutely. Expecting a perfectly logical response sometimes, it sounds like, right?
And you know what? From a dog's point of view, they are giving a logical response.
Huh?
Exactly. Confusion. But no, a lot of people, have these fears themselves, and they pass that along to the dog. Mm. So rather than being confident and having a dog address an issue that it has, they tend to avoid them. So that dog now becomes deprived of the opportunity to get over that.
Right.
So as in Verena's case with her dog, the person that used to take it for walks would, I guess, cloister it in a blanket or cover it or something while it was even driving to and from the point that it was going to be going for its walk.
So the car was also just a bizarre experience, too.
And probably a fearful one. Because, dogs have sight the same for the same reason that we do, so that they can see where they're going and doing.
Right.
And they smell things. They need to see, feel, and have things in context.
Right.
Well, if a loud noise happens and it's out of context, then they've got no way of relating that to anything else.
Right.
So that dog is then deprived of the opportunity to get over that problem as well. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times people.
We think, in some cases, we're protecting our animal from exposure to these potentially negative situations, so we don't put them anywhere those could occur.
Right, and we reward the dog oftentimes for being fearful of it. Because we tend to say, it's okay. Well, you've just told the dog that it's okay for feeling the way it's feeling about being afraid of something.
Okay.
So, you don't reward a dog for being fearful. What you do is become strong yourself so that you are the leader, and so that the dog can then feel comfortable that I'm with strong leadership.
And experience whatever that event may be.
And get through it.
Yeah.
Right? Because once it gets through it, it realizes, oh, that wasn't so bad. And they have there's no way of them having a frame of reference as to why my fear of this thing should be benign instead of real.
Right.
So if you're a strong person and the dog sees you as a strong person, the dog is going to be confident with you.
Right. I see.
And then it can get over that, whatever the experience was. We had a gentleman. He looked like he was probably pretty educated and looked like he would probably be an executive someplace.
Okay.
Bring his dog to daycare one day, and he said, "Well, she's a very fearful dog, and she's nervous around other dogs and that sort of thing." Well, we were going to put her in the pen with a bunch of other friendly dogs to start to introduce her to other dogs. And as soon as she put her tail between her legs, he says, "Oh no, I can't do that. I can't." And so he took the dog away. Well, that dog is now destined to a life of sensory deprivation.
So he was afraid for the dog. So before the dog had a chance to interact with other dogs and figure it out that, hey, everybody's sniffing and scratching, he wouldn't allow the dog because he was afraid.
Exactly. Yeah.
Isn't that bizarre?
Yeah.
So the dog remains an isolated animal that doesn't get along well with other dogs because it's human. Doesn't get along well with other dogs.
Because it doesn't know how to get along with other dogs.
Aha.
It's never had the opportunity. So, lots of times we import to the animal the feelings that we have, and a little bit of knowledge is often dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
We think because the dog has the tail between its legs that it's afraid of something. Well, it's a natural thing for a dog to do that's nervous.
Right. It's a submission sign, isn't it?
Right, because that's a communication to
other
the
dogs.
Other dog. I'm not a challenge
that's
to
right.
you.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm not a challenge to you.
Right.
Come and check me out, and once you get over that, then I'm going to check you out.
Sure, of course.
But that's how they, that's how they communicate with one another, through the body language.
Okay.
And that's why they read our body language so well.
Right, and it's really important, and we do this frequently when you pop in for a visit, to remind our listeners about how dogs communicate with humans. Mm-hmm. Because we tend, and we were just having a chuckle about it a few minutes ago, because if you listen to a typical dog owner conversing with his or her dog, mm-hmm. I mean, this is their best pal in the whole world in many cases, so mm-hmm. we say all sorts of things, but you listen, and you actually, the human is having a chat. And mm-hmm. conversing in sentences and asking questions and the dog just kind of sitting there going, well, this is great, he's talking to me and it's all nice and warm and I'm where I should be and it's great. But
you know what? That is great.
It is.
But we have to not expect that it's going to be meaningful.
Right.
It's great for the dog because the dog is a social animal, and so it's being communicated to. It doesn't understand what it is, but it knows it's not bad, and this is a good feeling, and there's a good vibe in the room.
Exactly.
So my body language is feeling pretty good about you because your body language seems to be feeling pretty good about me.
But it's not the words, it's not the sentences, it's the body language that is the more powerful communication tool that every human has with every dog.
Yeah, and it is the verbal communication along with it too.
Of course.
But primarily it is the body language. But the communication helps to put paint on the body language.
Right.
It helps to color it. In other words, if my body language is such that the dog thinks that it did something wrong, and I use a nice bright voice, say, no, it's okay, I didn't mean that.
Right.
Well,
At the same time,
you watch the dog come alive.
Right.
And happy. Oh, I misread that.
Okay.
So your voice and intonation and inflection all tell the dog something too.
But the other important part about it, right back to the intonation and voice, the fewer words spoken when it comes to actual commands, mm-hmm. the better. And if you can nail it in one word, keep it one word.
Sure, that's clarity.
Right.
Then the dog is not confused.
So
about what you
dog
meant.
name, sit. Dog name, come. Dog name, whatever, right? So always the dog name first, and then the one-word command, right?
Not necessarily first. If the dog's paying attention to you, he knows who he is.
Okay.
Typically, you give the dog the calling his name if he's looking a different direction.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so it's an attention.
You're just exactly.
Okay.
You're alerting to him.
Command coming.
Exactly.
Okay. But again, it's about simplicity.
Exactly.
And I mean, you can talk all day, but when it comes time to issue orders, make sure it's a comprehensible, preferably one-word command.
Yeah. If I was going to read instructions on how to put a mechano set together or something like that, and there was 14 pages, but all I really needed to know was read this with the hole on top and put screw through it.
Right.
That's all I really need to know. I don't need to know, well, the purpose for using this is to brace that and all that sort of, that's collateral.
Right, right.
But what I want to know is the clarity of I do this and then I do that.
Mm-hmm. Keep it simple.
Exactly.
The old KISS principle. BC Canine Training Center is at 13800 number 3 Road in Richmond. You get on to number 3 Road in Richmond, and you drive down to the Fraser River. And just before you fall into the water, you're at the BC Canine Training Center.
Right.
You can reach them at 604-275-9267. All of this information is on their website, bccanine.com. Phil Moriarty, well, good to see you again. If I don't see you before you get up to Worcester, have fun at Dogfest.
We expect to be doing that.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Desmond has a barrow in the marketplace. Molly is the singer in the band.